Hey everyone, behind me is the Audi Q2. Now this is one of the newer badges that Audi's brought out over the years. Audi brought this out for the first time in 2017, and the one behind me is a 2019 model, and it's a 35 TFSI model. Now before I go any further, a bit about that naming convention. I can tell you this is definitely not a 3.5 litre. Audi normally just told you on the back of their cars what it was. It's 1.4 litre, it's 1.8 litre, it's a 2 litre. But they've come up with this new naming convention which they brought out with the new facelifted models, which makes completely no sense. So some sales and marketing guru at Audi thought it was a great idea to change it all up and have some random numbers, and then those random numbers collate to random power figures of the car. So I'll just go through those for you. And I've got some notes here because I can't even remember it myself off the top of my head. So they've got 9 different naming conventions, starting from the 25 right through to the 70. So the naming convention, the 25 means that your car is between 70 to 80 kilowatts. If you've got a 30 naming convention, that means your car is between 81 and 96 kilowatts. If you've got a 35 naming convention, just like this one here, it means the car is between 110 and 120 kilowatts. If you've got the 40 naming convention, it means the car is between 125 and 150 kilowatts. If you've got the 45, it means the car is between 169 and 190. Are you getting bored yet? If you've got the 50 naming convention, it's between 210 and 230 kilowatts. If you've got the 55 naming convention, it's between 245 and 275 kilowatts. And if you've got the 60 naming convention, it's between 320 kilowatts and 340 kilowatts. And if you've got the 70 naming convention, it's above 400 kilowatts. So it's just completely bizarre why they've used that, and I don't even know if anyone's going to remember all that. I know if they see an Audi on the road and go, oh, that's between this kilowatts. But anyway, that's what they decided to use. If you've got an RS or an S model, they won't use these naming conventions. They'll still keep up with the standard RS or S badging. Now back to the review. So in the review today, I'm going to first of all take you around the exterior of the car and show you the exterior of the car. Then we'll hop inside the car and we'll have a look at the interior and some of the gadgets in the car. Then finally we'll take the car for a drive and I'll tell you what the car is like to drive on the road. Now if you do like my channels, please subscribe by pressing the subscribe button below. So looking at the Audi Q2 from the outside here, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the look of this car. I think it looks a bit boxy. The Audi call it an SUV, but I think it looks more like a crossover model. If you compare it to something like the Audi Q3, the roofline is a lot more lower than that. And looking on the road, this looks like really a jacked up hatchback. Now this one is in what they call the brilliant black color. You can also get a metallic version, which is called Mythos Black, of this as well if you go for that option. Now having a look at the wheels here, these are 17-inch wheels which come standard on these 35 TFSIs. If you go for the 40 TFSI, you will get the 18-inch wheels, and there is an option to go for the 19-inch wheels, but I've heard that does really compromise the ride quality of these cars. These are 215 wide and they're 55 profile. You can see the brakes behind there. They look like an okay size for this size of car, so I expect the braking in this to be not too bad. Now taking you around the car, you may see just below there is like a slight hint of two-tone on this car with a bit of a grey, but it is sort of a glossy grey around the bottom of the car there. So it's pretty hard to sort of see that two-tone. It's not the cheap normal plastic two-tone that you can see. So you look at the back here, it's got the dual exhaust on the left-hand side there, so making it look somewhat sporty. And then you can see it's got the Q2 and the 35 TFSI badging, which I spoke about before. The back here is definitely Audi looking. The lights, look, I don't mind them, they're okay. See it's got a rear view camera which is just above the number plate as they normally are. And then we'll just take a look from the side here. No roof rails or anything like that on the top there. You'd have to insert the roof racks if you decided to get roof racks on this. And then we'll just take you back around the front of the car to have a look at the front of the car here. So this one's got no fog lights on it. These all do come standard with LED lights, so the headlights are LED headlights, and you can see there just below it's also got front sensors there for the parking. We'll just take you back around the side here to have another look before we jump into the car. So that's the outside of the Audi Q2. Let's find out what it's like inside. Now in the 35 TFSI spec, this doesn't have any proximity key, so you have to use the key fob to unlock the car. So inside the Audi now, And today I'm going to do something a bit different, and I'm interested to see what you viewers think of this and if you'll prefer this sort of format over my usual format. Instead of spending a whole lot of time showing you the front of the car and going through the DIS display and things like that, I'm going to go really quickly through all of that. Now, if you haven't seen any of my other videos before, I've just posted my Hyundai Kona video up there, so take a look at that, see what you think of the review in that, where I go into a lot of detail about the interior, the infotainment system, the DIS system, and tell me if you prefer that in the comments below, or if you prefer the format I'm going to do today, which is a bit quicker to going through the car. So looking at the gauges, you've just got the standard gauges here. If you went for the TFSI 40 model, you'd get the option to upgrade to a virtual cockpit if your preference is the virtual cockpit, and that would probably make the car look a bit more modern inside here. So you've just got your tachometer on the left there, you've got your DIS in the middle there, and the DIS just displays similar to all the other Audi DISs. You've just got your kilometers till empty, then you've got some other options like your efficiency mode, compass, and a bunch of other details there. And then on your right, your speedo. Now having a look around the cabin, again, being an Audi, it's a nice sort of cabin. You've got leather seats in here. Those leather seats are not too bad. They're not the plushest leather seats I've ever seen. Now there's a bit of cheapery around here. See here, this plastic? You wouldn't expect to see this on an Audi. It's more something I'd expect to see on a basic Hyundai or something like that. So I don't know why they didn't put a bit more of an effort into putting some nicer plastic on the side doors there. Now, looking at the dashboard, you've got a nice little silver panel that runs along here to give it a bit of a two-tone look there. You've got your standard Audi vents that you do see on the A3 and Q3 models as well. Having a look at the infotainment system here, this is a 7-inch infotainment system. You do have an option to upgrade this to the 8-inch system, and this is a bit smaller than you kind of get in most cars these days, because 8-inch infotainment systems seem to come somewhat standard. Now just to quickly take you through there, so you've got your option for your car settings there, you've got your sound options here, you've got a radio, it does have a digital radio in here. You can plug in Android device or an iOS device, so it does have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Syncing your telephone here, and then it does have a navigation, and then you can view that map there. So just your standard map there, nothing too fancy. And then just your smartphone settings, and then further settings of the car. So that's the infotainment system. Having a look down here, your automatic on and off button on the far left there. You can turn your parking sensors on or off, your hazard lights, traction control, and on the far right there, that button is to turn the infotainment system screen off. This does have dual zone climate control, and just below that you can see it's got a 12-volt socket on the left there, and your standard USB plug. Then you've got your standard Audi gear stick there, nice little leather top there to it, and it does have Tiptronic on there. The dials below there for your infotainment system. Then you've got your electric parking brake here, and then the center console glove box. And in the glove box here, you've got the wireless charger as well for charging, so that's pretty good. You've also got your glove box here with a reasonable amount of storage. You've also got some SD cards that you can plug in there below the DVD player there that's really used for the navigation system. Having a look at the steering wheel here, it's a reasonable sized steering wheel. It's not too big, it's not too small. You've got your buttons here, so you've got your buttons that go through the DIS options right here, and then you've got your buttons to go through the different either media or radio stations. Then you've just got another button for your DIS settings, and then you've just got your back button there. You've got your cruise control just below that, just down here, and then you've got your lights and blinkers just above there. And then on the right here, we've just got your favorite settings, so you can set that button to whatever you want. Quick shortcut to the navigation. You've gone answer the phone, it's got voice recognition. Your volume button here, just above the steering wheel, you've just got your wipers. If we have a look a bit further there, we've got the lights there. You can see it's got the rear fog lights available there, so just a light switch. And then you've got your standard just electric window buttons and mirror buttons. And this car's got a nice little bell if I open the door with the car on, and you can see it's just got the manual adjustments for your seats, no auto adjustments here. Okay, that's the front of the car. Let's go have a look in the rear and check out the legroom. So in the back here now, and the room's not too bad, to be honest. You can see I've got a bit of room here. That seat's not that far back, but I've still got a bit, I'm not touching the seat there. And then headroom, it's not too bad. There's not a huge amount of headroom, but you see I'm still not anywhere near the top of the roof there. So it's not too bad in terms of room, and I'll just take you around the back of the cabin now. I'm in the back here, and there's okay amount of room. I have put the seat a bit forward here because we've had someone that's a bit taller sitting in the back, but my knees still aren't right up against the back of the chair here. So for a small car, the room is, I suppose, okay. Now, it does look a bit squashed in the back here, though, in terms of width of the car. So you've got a car seat in there, and then there's that middle seat, which you can see does look fairly small. In the middle here, the drivetrain does come up a fair amount, so I would say that you would very much struggle to get an adult here on a long trip. There is no rear air conditioning ducts in this one. You can option the comfort pack, which gives you those rear air conditioning ducts there, but that's obviously an extra option. And then also no, which is kind of, it seems to be happening along a few cars I've reviewed lately, is there's no map holders at the back of these chairs for whatever reason. The back looks okay here, pretty much similar to the front there. Again, I don't like that cheap plastic that's there. And the strange thing about this, it doesn't have any cup holders in the middle seat there, so you can't bring any, you can bring your cup holders down there, but there's no cup holders in this middle seat, which is a bit strange. I thought that it's not too difficult to do. I thought they would have those there. So that's the back of the car, and then we'll now take you around the boot and I'll show you the boot space. Looking at the boot space in there, it's not the biggest boot, to be honest here. The boot space is 355 litres, which is not massive, and it's pretty much similar to what you get in a lot of the hatchbacks. It's got two hooks for child seats at the back here, and these seats will fold back 40-60, so not 40-20-40, just 40-60. The wheel in this is just the space saver, but you do have a fair bit of storage underneath the spare wheel there. If you're running out of storage, you could put a few bits and pieces in there if you needed it on a long trip. No 12-volt socket or anything in this to use, and not really many other storage areas, so pretty small boot area. This car's just got the manual close, so no automatic close. Doesn't look like there's even an option where you could put the automatic close. For some of the models that's a bit higher up. Okay, let's just close this boot up now and just have a look at the back of the car again. Alright, let's go take this car for a drive and see how it's like to drive on the road. Driving the Audi now, and getting in the Audi, trying to find everything's really easy. With some of these cars, you kind of need like an encyclopedia to figure out how to start the car and how to even get moving. But with this, you simply put the key in, turn the ignition on, and then your electric parking brake, everything's where you'd expect it to be. In terms of visibility in the car, you sit quite well. You see over the bonnet, all the visuals around the car are pretty good. The only area I could find a blind spot in is that rear 3/4 panel just behind me there. It does take a bit of your vision out, but outside of that, the visibility around the car is quite good. In terms of how the car feels on the road, well, being an Audi, you'd expect it to be smooth, you'd expect it to be quiet in the cabin, and this doesn't disappoint. It's quite smooth on the road. It isn't the smoothest car I've ever been in, but it's definitely comfortable enough. It's quiet in the cabin. You can feel that the sound deadening efforts that Audi's done in this to make this nice, quiet place to be in it, and it does feel like you're driving a premium car. Now, I've heard if you choose the 19-inch wheels on this, it does take away a bit from the ride, but with these 17-inch wheels, it's smooth. In terms of technology in this car, you do not get too much technology in this car. Outside of the stuff that's pretty much standard in the cars, which you actually have to put on the cars these days, you just get the autonomous emergency braking and then the pedestrian detection, and that's it. If you want anything else like blind spot monitoring, traffic departure alert, anything like that, you've got to pay Audi more for that. That's an option you have to tick. So that's a bit disappointing that Audi didn't throw some more technology in this. The stereo system in this is an 8-speaker stereo system, and it's quite a nice stereo system in it. You can, if you're really particular about your sound, you can upgrade to a Bose system, but to be honest, I don't think it's necessary. This one is more than enough. The handling of the car. Well, let's try it out now. We're about to go around the bend, and I'll just test it out around here, see if it sits flat or not. Yeah, it sits pretty well. It sits pretty flat. So the handling in this, it's quite good as well. This one's just a front wheel drive version. So this has just got the torsion beam suspension in it. If you went for the TFSI 40, that's the all-wheel drive version, and that's got the multi-link suspension in it, so that's going to get better traction. The handling is going to be even better on that. But as I said, the handling on this is fine. It sits really flat. Feels more like a hatchback than an SUV, which Audi call this, and to be honest, this isn't an SUV, it's just a jacked up hatchback in my opinion. In terms of the brakes on this car, well, let's quickly test them now. Just accelerate, and then we'll brake. Yeah, they're pretty good as well. You don't have to press down on the brake pedal too much for it to stop, for them to bite. They bite pretty quickly. The engine in this car's got a 1.4 litre turbo engine in it, and it's 110 kilowatts and 250 newton meters of torque. If you go for the TFSI 40, you get the 2 litre engine, which is 140 kilowatts, and it has 350 newton meters of torque in it, so it's obviously a bit more powerful. The fuel consumption you get out of the 1.4 litre engine is really good. You get 5.3 litres per 100 kilometres. If you decide to go for the 2 litre engine, it's not as fuel efficient, but it's still not too bad. It's 6.5 litres to 100 kilometres. So in terms of the performance of this car, that's tested out now. So what I'll do is I'll put it in sports mode. So we just flick it over here. It's got no Tiptronic up here, and I'll just put one foot on the brake, one foot on the accelerator, and it's just not letting me rev it at all. So I'm just going to drop. Oh, it's really sluggish off the line. Okay, once it gets going. Alright, now it's going nicely. It just doesn't like trying to be launched, this car. If I put one foot on the brake, the other foot on the accelerator, it just allows it to rev to about 1.5, then it tries to stall itself, and you just can't get it off the line as much as you try. So it definitely doesn't have launch control in it, I can tell you that right now. And yeah, it's I don't think you could actually get it to launch that well. As even if you tried the hardest you try, you're just not going to get it to launch that well. So what do I think about this car? Look, first of all, we'll start with some of the negative things on this car. Now, the interior on the side here, come on Audi, to spend a bit more money. There's some cheap stuff on here that you wouldn't expect to see in an Audi. And then the technology in this car. And now I don't know why Audi didn't just throw a few more things in there. This car's $50,000 once you get it on road, and cars that are $20,000 less than this, you get a lot more free technology in it. So that's a bit disappointing. The looks, they're still growing on me. I'm not won over by the looks of this car. In terms of things I like on this car, I really like this 1.4 litre engine. I think they've done really well with the different engine choices they've got. This is just the basic bare bones model. So if performance is important to you, then you've got the 2 litre TFSI 40 to choose from, which is obviously going to be more powerful. But you know, this little 1.4 litre turbo engine still does 8.5 seconds to 100. And then if you go the 2 litre engine, you've got just in the mid 6 seconds to 100. And then if Audi decide to, they can bring out the SQ2, which does under 5 seconds, about 4.8 seconds to 100. But I'm not sure if they're going to bring that out to Australia. I don't know if there's a big enough market for it at all. The handling, I do like the handling on the car. It sits nice and flat, drives more like a hatchback, and generally how the car rides and things like that's quite nice. So in general, I do think it's a good car, and I do think you should consider it. Also, obviously, take a look at the new Mercedes GLA that came out. You can also have a look at the BMW X2 and then the Volvo XC40 as well. Thanks again for watching my review today. If there's anything that you want to see that I'm not doing in my videos, please feel free to comment in the comment sections below, and I will reply.